The Kremlin has announced a ceremony will be held Friday to officially incorporate 4 occupied Ukrainian areas into Russia after it held referendums, a process that Ukraine and its allies have dismissed as illegitimate while vowing to retaliate with new sanctions. Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to defend these newly annexed territories by all means available, alarming officials in the West. State Department spokesperson Ned Price said this week if Russia used a nuclear weapon against Ukraine, the ramifications would be severe and catastrophic.
The point that we have made both publicly and privately to the Russians is that the consequences would be real and they would be extraordinary.
Price was asked if these severe consequences would be triggered if Russia were to use a small, tactical nuclear weapon against Ukraine.
The use of any nuclear weapons in this conflict would carry those consequences.
On Thursday, Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal and Republican Senator Lindsey Graham introduced legislation that would require cutting off economic and military aid to any country that recognizes what they termed Putin's illegal annexation of 4 regions of Ukraine. Graham had this to say about Putin's nuclear threat.
The use of a nuclear weapon by Russia in Ukraine would be an attack on NATO itself. The radiation would not be confined to Ukraine. You would be irradiating parts of Europe that are under the NATO banner. So if that day ever comes, and I hope and pray it doesn't, that should be considered by NATO writ large, the United States, as an attack by Russia on NATO itself.
Catholic University's Michael Kimmage, an expert in U.S.-Russia relations, tells VOA it is impossible to know whether Putin is truly considering the use of nuclear weapons.
It would be an enormous step for Russia to take and would change its image perhaps irretrievably in the international stage. It's unclear whether it would lead to any different military results. And of course, it could induce Putin's opponents on the other side, including the United States, to escalate.
Experts say Putin's major military mobilization has already upset and angered many Russians across the country, with the war hitting home. At least 200,000 Russians have fled the country since the conscription order was announced, heading across the border to Kazakhstan, Georgia, Finland, and Mongolia. Cindy Saine, VOA News.